5. Dinosaur World is taking over Children's Theater Company for an immersive tour where you can feel the roar. Get ready to face off against a massive T-Rex and see what it feels like to get sneezed on by a Triceratops at Dinosaur World. Dinosaur World runs through April 5th, and you can find tickets and more info at childrenstheater.org.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. In the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. In the nighttime hours in Seattle, 1150 AM, KKNW. And, of course, on BAM, Blue Amp Media at blueamp.co on Substack. That's blueamp.co on Substack. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Friday. Nice to have you with us here today, Matt and Brett. Coming up here in a little bit, we're going to be having Tim Whitaker is going to be joining us from Tim Whitaker Speaks on Substack, and of course, the new evangelicals.com. He basically he knows a lot about Christian nationalism and basically a unique perspective that he basically had a background in it, and now he talks out about it, and very interesting stuff. We're going to talk to him about various things, but Brett is with us here today. Hello, Brett. How are we?
All right. How about you?
I'm doing great. Can I just tell you that? I am doing great. And you know why I'm doing great? It's because I hurt my back. And so today, finally, when I could not walk, I went to the doctor. And the doctor took a look at me. Now, the good thing is nothing's broken, but he did give me some sweet, sweet, sweet drugs to get me through the day. So I'm just going to let you know, I'm pretty sure it's not going to affect the quality of show for today.
Pretty sure.
Pretty sure. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're doing the show, aren't we? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we do have a show to do.
We're live. Oh, my God. Don't worry. No, there is a funny moment here. You can't see Brett. Brett, for a quick second, is like, is Matt okay? Because you remember the back break shows. We had to do those. You remember those. No, I'm fine. I am fine. They are, I mean, everything's purple. I don't know why. I think it has to do with Prince, though. I mean, and isn't that a better world anyway? So I'm fine with that. All right. So,
I don't know what you're talking. It's actually, we painted the whole room red. I don't know what you're seeing in there.
Oh, well, no. MAGA red. Nice.
Yeah, thanks. Just for you. Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Those drugs must be taking effect if you're not seeing that.
Oh, God, no. I think I see it too much here. Bad news for the new head of the Department of Health and Department of Homeland Security, I should say. This is this young chap, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. Bad news is he's no longer going to be able to have sex with Corey Lewandowski on the F plane that Kristi Noem had, because Corey Lewandowski has been fired, is out at the Department of Homeland Security as well. And so, I mean, that's a perk. I mean, really, if you think about it, I mean, it's like, you know, what comes with the job? Well, you run the Border Patrol, ICE agents, FEMA, and lots of sex with Corey Lewandowski on the F plane. So, you know, it's what could go wrong? What could go wrong? But apparently that perk is no longer there. I'm sure Senator Mark Wayne Mullen is reconsidering his decision whether or not to take that position, though. Corey Lewandowski is indeed out. That was not, the whole thing wasn't a joke. No, he is out. Well, I think we all know that he clang, clang, clang goes the trolley. Yeah, I think we all know that. But I mean, he's out of that position. So more impacts there. A lot of stuff to get to today. But I'm not going to pass up what is, once again, the story of one of the biggest stories in this country's history. Right now, there are a ton of people who have spent thousands of dollars on flags and hats and T-shirts that feature the name of a child rapist. And I'm sure they're going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I never owned all that stuff. And then, of course, the pictures of their house where they have 20 freaking Trump flags out in front of them. There has been some files. And I mean, just understand what the White House is doing. They have to legally release all these files. They got caught holding them back. The Justice Department got caught holding back Epstein files, particularly ones that made fairly horrific allegations against Trump. And, well, they released them today, trying to bury it on Friday with a bad economic news and the war with Iran, hoping no one would notice. And, well, we still noticed. Quote, Oh, God. And I'm just going to just say this. Yeah, this is in there. Quote, "Let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be." End quote. According to an interview with a woman conducted by the FBI as part of the investigation into Epstein, those were some of the first words Donald Trump directed at her before he began a sexual assault that ended with Trump reportedly hitting her and pulling her hair. Overshadowed by Thursday's firing of DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, the Department of Justice quietly released previous missing FBI interviews with the Epstein victim, whose explosive allegations have sent shockwaves through Washington. Once again, by design, they're trying to don't say anything. According to Politico, the unidentified woman alleged she was a teenager when Epstein introduced her to Trump. In files dated between August and October of 2019, the woman, whose name is redacted, claims that when she was between 13 and 15 years old, Epstein took her to either New York or New Jersey. It was very tall buildings with huge rooms. He introduced her to Trump. Trump said, she said, didn't like that I was a boy girl, which interview notes meant a tomboy. According to the woman's account, other people were present initially, but she could not recall who they were. Trump asked them to leave the room, then said something to the effect of, "Let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be." Ugh. According to the interview, then Trump undid his pants and forced her. You can kind of piece together here. She said she bit the blank out of it and then pulled her hair and punched her on the side of the head, she stated. "Get this little bee the hell out of here," she recalled him saying at that point. Others re-entered the room. The FBI interviews contain no information about how the incident concluded or how the woman was left the encounter. During one interview, the woman disclosed that she had retained attorneys and wanted to be upfront about her pending civil case in the event the agents determined the conflict of interest would occur. The woman told the FBI that she and people close to her received threatening phone calls, including one left on a coworker's phone, but intended for her. She believed the calls were related to Epstein and stated under her breath that if it were not Epstein, maybe it was the other one. When agents asked who she meant, she identified Trump in the interview notes. Yeah, you got that Trump hat on. Now, I am entitled to believe what I want to believe. I think this woman is telling the truth. Because at this point, this idea that, these 700 women that have accused Donald Trump of this, they were all just looking for a check. Well, the guy's a billionaire. The easiest thing in the world for him to do is write a check and everyone goes away. And the reality is he's been convicted of this already in civil court. We know he is. And he brags about it. He's bragged about sexually assaulting people. He's bragged about basically walking in on underage girls. He has bragged about all this. And he clearly was insanely close friends with Jeffrey Epstein. He did this. I have zero doubt in my mind. He did this. And a lot of people know he did it. And I want you to think about, I'm not going to excuse Clinton with Monica Lewinsky. I'm not going to excuse Hart when he had his problems, Kennedy's issues, Harding had affairs. But this is different. This is grown men assaulting underage girls, raping them. And in this case, Trump so upset that the woman being raped wasn't doing it the way he wanted it to be done, he started beating her and punching her. And by the way, one of the things that there's probably going to be people who are going to be these right-wing people are going to be like, let me make excuses for this. 13-year-olds, they're asking for it. I mean, they're going to do that. We already know that. But I want to go back to, remember that Borat movie where the one actress who was pretending to be a underage, I think it was like a 15, 16-year-old girl, was in a room with Giuliani? And the second he thought that they were alone, Giuliani starts undoing his pants. Okay. Yeah. That's these guys. They walk into a room and they think that they're entitled to women pleasuring them whenever they want. And how did we get so broken as a country that clearly, with the mountains of evidence against him, that there are people who are saying, I don't care if he raped my own daughter. I would rather applaud that than see him resign in disgrace, because it's more important to me that we own the libs than it is that I am not supporting a pedophile. I don't know. There are some brave people, and right now, brave people on both sides of the aisle, who are desperately trying to get this exposed and find out the truth, that the president of the United States is a pedophile who has been raping children, was what appears to be part of the trafficking network through his Mar-a-Lago resort, which we refer to all the time as his happy little place in Florida. We can go through the litany of disqualifying things about that human trash pile that is Donald Trump. But this, how in the world did you people get to the point where such overwhelming evidence can be presented against somebody, and yet you just can't? It's so impossible for you to just accept the fact that, wow, yeah, maybe I've been lied to. And I'll buy that. I think most of us would gladly accept some level of common sense coming from you. And if that's the excuse you have to do, fine. Yeah, you know what? I believed he was going to be better. I was going to believe all these things, but I'm now realizing he lied to us, and he's been lying about this whole Epstein thing, and I'm furious about it. Fine. Is it a situation where you guys just don't want I told you so's? Is that what it is? I know for a lot of people on the left, that's going to be hard. Fine. If you can come on out and just sort of say, you know what, enough's enough. There's clearly enough evidence here to negate him from being in office any longer. He needs to go in and basically deal with this. And until he does, he should not be president. Fine. Good enough. Bravo. And then you can say, and he lied to me, and I believed him. Fine. Let's just at least end this at this point. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
Are you tired of hearing how white European men discovered everything? Then 10,000 Things Theater's production of Men on Boats by Jacqueline Backhouse is for you. It features a cast of the people the first expedition to the Grand Canyon in 1869 left out, running February 19th through March 15th at 4 different locations, starting with Open Book in Minneapolis. Contact 10,000things.org. That's 10,000things.org.
Hi, I'm Mary T. Caring for others runs deep in my family. My grandmother, Rosa, was a nurse who cared for people in their homes more than a century ago. Inspired by her compassion, my mother, Margaret, and I founded the Mary T. family of companies nearly 50 years ago. Today, we continue that legacy across Minnesota, Wisconsin, Maryland, and Arizona, providing senior living, assisted living with memory care, home health, hospice care, rental housing, and support for people with disabilities. Each service is personal, creative, and focuses on the unique needs of those we serve. We also believe in joy and community, which is why we opened Crooner Supper Club in Fridley, a place to celebrate life with music, laughter, and connection. At Mary T., we're proud to be a Minnesota family company rooted in compassion, inclusion, and respect, and proud supporters of AM 950 and the values that this station represents. Visit MaryTinc.com to learn more.
Congratulations to Mary T., named one of the most admired CEOs of 2026 by the Minneapolis St. Paul Business Journal.
I said, ooh, come on, baby, turn the lights off.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Nice to have you here with us here today. 952-946-6205. So let's kind of, it's one of those days. It's like I say, you got that. And of course, then we got to talk about the economy, because even though the war is definitely worth talking about, and I'm going to try to get to that here in a little bit. And once again, got Tim Whitaker going to be joining us here in just a little bit. But we got to talk about what happened here, because, yeah, things aren't good. Things are not good. The U.S. job market turned weaker last month, dashing hopes of an economic rebound. The report from the Labor Department on Friday shows employers cut 92,000 jobs in February. Now, they were expecting 50,000 jobs in the plus. The fact, actually, I think it was 60,000 jobs. It's 152,000 jobs off on the report. That's insane. That is insane. Which leads me to believe the people that were doing the estimates were being fed information which just wasn't real. The unemployment rate geared up to 4.4%. Job gains in December and January also revised downward. I'm going to get to that in a second. February's job losses are widespread, with factories, construction companies, and federal government all shedding workers. Even healthcare, which has been a source of strength, lost 28,000 jobs in February, partly as a result of nurses' strike. Can I say this before you say that? How many times have I talked about layoffs on this show? And when I just run through the list of layoffs of the day, major medical corporations. I went and saw my doctor today, who looked at my back. 2 things that happened were done via AI. 2 things that happened were done via AI. Yeah. It's not just a nurses' strike. Okay. According to March 2026 Bureau of Labor Statistics data, we got to talk about, I've talked about the fact that not only are the numbers generally, I don't think you trust that 92,000. I think it's worse. I think it's probably a lot worse, because that's everything here. And why do I say that? Well, for an entire freaking year, when the revisions come on out of the previous months, they all go downwards. December 2025 non-farm payroll unemployment was revised downward significantly by 65,000 jobs. That's not an oopsie. That's deception. Now the loss, December had a job loss of 17,000 jobs. That's insane. December is one of the better hiring months. They lost 17,000 jobs. They're in the red 17,000 now. January was lowered 4,000 to 126. My guess is in the next bill, when we get the March numbers out, they'll well, by the way, we need to revise down January as well. These revisions on top of this, 69,000 fewer jobs for the period than initially reported. So between what was expected today, which was in the 160, so like 152,000 off, then you add on 69,000, that's 200,000 jobs that are just not there. that are just not there. This is going back to December, and I want to remind you of the trend here. This is December's job reports. Employers added 50,000 jobs to the economy, performing below expectations for another month. So this was when they were talking about December. This was numbers that were released in early January. They said, oh, yeah, by the way, the employers only added 50,000 jobs, should have been higher. There are 76,000 fewer jobs in October and November than previously reported. Every one of these reports is dramatically down. Now, the oil markets are, okay, the oil markets alone, oil is now over $90 a barrel. And because it's clear that this thing is not going to get better anytime soon. What's crazy is the stock market only being down 453 points. And I can tell you why. Is like you have to. So what Trump has done, what the Trump administration is trying to do is I've documented over and over again, these jobs numbers are our latest example. There is no good economic news outside of the stock market, which is the only number every time. I mean, for God's sakes, you have the Department of Justice saying, why are you asking about child rape? The stock market. This is where they're at. They want the stock market to look good so that they can basically insist that one metric is the only metric that matters. Every other metric, and I've talked about this, and I talk about this almost every freaking day, is that every economic metric is down and down dramatically. Currency, bond market, the ag markets, the housing markets, they're all down. They're all just garbage right now, which then makes no sense why the stock market is doing this. And what the trick is this. They've set up crypto to basically be a slush fund for the stock market. Because I was watching it today, they dumped so much crypto to basically keep this market propped up. I mean, crypto is down the Bitcoin rather, I should say, is down 32,000 for the day, 3,200 for the day, 3,200 for the day. It's basically completely lost all the value that it's picked up since Trump came into office, which was up to 120 or something like that at one point. And all those people that bought it at 120 thinking the sky's the limit. Now you've thrown away half your money. And that's if this stays there, because I want to remind the crypto bros that are stupid enough to get into crypto. Okay. He will burn you to the ground to keep the stock market up. And so crypto, if you're in crypto right now, I'd be getting the living daylights out of it, because even if you've taken losses, it's not going to come back, because that stock market, there's no way on the planet oil is going to be back down below, $70 within the next year, at least. Oil is going to be incredibly expensive for the time being, which means everything's going to cost more, which means people are going to be hiring less, which means people are going to be spending less, which means the investments are going to go down, which means that the stock market having to get propped up is basically taking more and more of a Herculean effort to do so. They will burn this down to Bitcoin and all this stuff down to zero. They will burn it down to zero as long as they can keep pouring money into the stock market. And when that does happen and the stock market finally does collapse because there's nothing propping it up, well, this is why they want the interest rates. They want to take the interest rates down to 2-3%. So basically there's this false inflation of the economy and everyone's like, oh, it's great. Well, yeah, it's free money basically. And so people are going to borrow money, but then there's no investment behind it. And when things start turning around, guess what? You don't have room to navigate the interest rates anymore. He's crashing the economy. And I don't mean he's sending us into recession. He is crashing the economy. This is insane what he is doing right now. And once again, you should put no faith in the stock market. And once again, I want to point out, the stock market is, where is it there? He keeps saying it's at 50,000. No, it's not. It's at 27.5. And the only reason it's not down to 40,000 right now is because of the insane shifting of money from the crypto markets to basically just keep propping it up. Some companies are buying back their stock and stuff. Berkshire Hathaway just basically announced that they are going to do some of that. But yeah, Geronimo, man. and I'm saying this, I'm 57 years old. I'm supposed to retire in a few years. I want to have something, some sort of retirement account. And I don't know if it's even going to exist. Tim Whitaker when we come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Hearts and beliefs collide in the poignant comedy, The Cake, playing at Theater in the Round. Della is a talented Southern baker whose life changes when she's asked to create a wedding cake for her late best friend's daughter, who's marrying a woman. The production offers a tender and funny look at the complex intersection of faith and family. The Cake runs February 20th through March 15th at Theater in the Round. Tickets and more information at theaterintheround.org.
Hey, Minnesota, it's your favorite sexy liberal. Join me and my fellow cohorts in liberal justice weekdays from 8 to 11 on AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Next Chapter Booksellers is the perfect destination for indoor winter activities. Cozy up with a book. They have all the bestsellers and new releases. Plus, their booksellers are great at making recommendations. Beyond books, enjoy mind-bending puzzles and family fun board games for those snowy days. And don't miss Next Chapter's in-store events, book clubs, author signings, and children's story time. So stay busy this winter with Next Chapter Booksellers off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Hey, Chanhassen in Eden Prairie, it's Alex with Buzz Cut Mowing. Why wake up early, freeze, and shovel snow when I can handle it for you? I provide fast, reliable snow removal so your driveway and sidewalks stay clear, safe, and stress-free all winter long. Relax, enjoy your morning coffee, and let me do the heavy lifting. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com today and make this winter easier, warmer, and worry-free with Buzz Cut Mowing, because nobody likes shoveling snow.
Crooners is a classic supper club with a wide range of entertainment. Make your reservations for a parade of international, national, and local artists in the main stage showroom, the intimate Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the seasonal Belvedere Under the Stars space. Or enjoy Maggie's Piano Lounge. Enjoy 4-star food and drinks with first-class supper club service. What are you waiting for? Go to croonersmn.com for more information and schedule. That's croonersmn.com.
AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Step into Forts, a fort-building wonderland at Children's Theater Company through April 5th. Theatrical elements, evolving light and soundscapes, and towers of cardboard boxes set the scene for creative play. Build the tallest fort, the longest fort, or tons of cozy little forts. Design a castle or a neighborhood. Your imagination leads the way as you play freely and create shared stories together in real life. Forts at CTC through April 5th. Spring break weekdays available. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for rain throughout today with a high near 56. Tonight, more rain with a low around 32. And Saturday, partly cloudy with a high near 45. Looking for a treat? Discover macarons like you've never tasted before at Nicolette's Macarons in Plymouth. These elegant French macarons are perfect for gifts, corporate events, or just for yourself. Located conveniently off 169 in Plymouth. Stop in today or shop online at nicolettesmacarons.com.
Broadcasting in the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk, in Seattle 1150 AM KKNW, on BAM, the Blue Amp Media Network at blueamp.co on Substack. That's blueamp.co on Substack. And of course, live in Minneapolis, St. Paul on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Friday. Joining me right now is Tim Whitaker. This is, of course, on Substack. You can find him at Tim Whitaker Speaks. And, of course, the newevangelicals.com as well. A person who speaks out against Christian nationalism because he has a personal background experience with it. And he talks about things about the way it's kind of infiltrated our society right now and how we can fight back against it. He's kind enough today to talk about some of the latest news as well as his current fight. Hey, Tim, how are you?
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. I love your setup, by the way. You got a nice little. I mean, I look like I'm back in a shipping container. You look like that's very professional. Nice.
Listen, nothing you can't do with some black paint and some Amazon lighting, So.
for everyone out there, why don't you explain your story a little bit? I mean, you actually came from kind of this, extreme Christian background yourself, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, I grew up in the white evangelical tradition that really has given birth to Trump and everything that we're kind of seeing today. I was homeschooled for 9 years, very deep in that world. I helped plant churches in the conservative Christian world. I was a drummer for a while. I've done the missions trips. So I have all the credentials and the experience of being in that space for almost 32 years before eventually I had to rethink my theology because I couldn't reconcile the love affair with Trump, frankly. And that kind of started me down this path. A lot of us call it deconstruction. I'm still very much a Christian today, but now I help people understand the theology and political framework of Christian nationalism, which tragically is responsible for so much of the dehumanization that's taking shape today in our politics.
I am myself, and by the way, my disclaimer for everybody out there: you do or don't do whatever it is you do or don't want to do. I'm a Christian myself. I mean, I was used to be part of the Catholic faith, but when they basically decided to go after Joe Biden, I said, that's not why I'm going to church. So I found a lovely little Lutheran church that we go to, and I like it quite a bit. I've always, it is for me, and I've talked about that. I'm a Gospel of Matthew guy. It's okay, there's a, you guys read that? Is that in your book? Because you guys don't seem to follow that at all. And that's kind of the thing. I know we've had John Fugelsang on quite a few times to talk about his book and his points on this. There is a redundancy that happens here that basically you say, okay, you guys are preaching stuff that doesn't really exist. But for you, I mean, for me, I was never a Republican. I was always pretty much either a moderate or on the left. For you, when did was it one specific thing where you're like, okay, this doesn't match up at all?
Well, I mean, listen, I will tell you that I grew up in a world that was big on Sean Hannity. Rush Limbaugh talk radio was my environment, and I voted for McCain and Romney because in my tradition, Obama was the Antichrist. That kind of gives people my background. It's a somewhat nuanced story, but the short version is that there were certain things I started noticing as I got older that I didn't think were kind of jiving with the faith I was being given. Like, I always wondered to myself, why are we so hateful towards gay people? Like, I don't get that. Even if I think as a conservative Christian, it's quote unquote sin, why are we kind of picking on these people as opposed to the greedy out there, right? So I always had those kinds of questions. But the big moment when the dam really broke open was Trump. And I'll tell you why briefly. In this world, there's a term called purity culture. It's this idea that's really instilled into you as a young person that you have to remain pure sexually until you get married. You have to be a virgin, right? And this is a huge piece of the pie. If you want to serve in church, even as a volunteer, you have to be pure. You can't, go too far with your girlfriend. You can't be alone, that kind of thing. You can imagine then my shock when the Sunday school teachers who taught me these things were telling me that I had to vote for the guy on the cover of Playboy magazine and who was on his third marriage and who bragged about grabbing women. I thought, wait a second. I thought that sexual purity mattered to you guys. I thought that this was like a non-negotiable. And I did that, by the way. I did the right thing. Why all of a sudden am I now being called a heretic because I can't vote for a man who's obviously not a moral man in any sense of the word? That was the beginning of the explosion for me of going, I have to get out of here. I have to ask myself, this theology I've been given does not seem to be consistent. It seems to be quite subjective. I got to find greener pastures.
Well, and it's a tried and true path too for people. I started the show out today with the allegation of child rape on the president that has finally been now released with the Epstein files. Yeah. And there is a disconnect here. I mean, as I have watched the right vilify people that with nothing outside of just desire to vilify people. I mean, whether it was Barack Obama or Joe Biden. I mean, Tellerico, there was a guy on a right-wing podcast yesterday that was going after James Tellerico down in Texas, calling him a demon man that had been taken over by demons. But at the same time, you've got somebody who quite literally, if he came in as to audition for biblical villain, they'd say, whoa, this is too unbelievable. This guy's is every check mark there. And yet the amount of just blind faith for this guy, I think that what you're really seeing in my perspective is that it's the desire to own the libs has caused these people to just make a mockery of Christianity as a whole. And this is one of the things I've been fighting against.
Yeah, well, this is why I use the term Christian nationalism, because Christian nationalism is a part of the Christian tradition, broadly speaking, but it's a very ugly part, frankly. And Christian nationalism is built on power and control. Once you understand that they will do whatever it takes to maintain power and control, everything else falls into place. Why is James Tallarico a quote unquote demon? Probably because he made the comment about God being binary, which, by the way, is true. God doesn't have genitalia, right? That's not how that works. But why is he being called that, right? Well, because he threatens their power and their control. But why is Trump their Messiah in chief? Well, because he's giving them power and control, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, I'll say one more thing. Inside the white evangelical world that gives birth to Christian nationalism, that's where it's most concentrated according to data. There's a pattern that we have seen over and over again of spiritual leaders being protected of egregious commitment, abuse allegations or actual crimes. One example is Robert Morris. Robert Morris was on Trump's spiritual advisory council. He was a mega church pastor, built the largest church in America at one point. Turned out in the 80s, when he was in his mid-20s, he raped a 12-year-old. And he hid it for decades. He finally got some sense of justice. He's currently in prison, but another mega church pastor visited him in prison recently and declared on Instagram that God has forgiven Robert Morris and that all is well. So it makes sense when you understand that there's a pattern in these spaces why they will protect men who are predators. There's a very clear pattern here.
Well, and there's a post on your Substack page today. I mean, and I find the history of all this fascinating, and then just the fact that all of a sudden, yeah, you had the Bible and stuff. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I've known enough about it and how it's been warped and changed over the millennia that we've had here from original messaging. But at the same time, the idea of all this thing, rapture and all these things, these are all relatively modern inventions. But when you talk to these people that are part of this, they feel as if this was from the beginning, and like, no, this was some guy in the 1820s that fell off a horse, as you pointed out.
That's right. That's completely correct. Yeah, the technical term is called dispensationalism. It was developed in the 1800s by a guy named John Nelson Darby. But if you grew up in the world of white evangelicalism, like I did, it's not universal. There are people who don't believe dispensationalism. They have a different view about essentially conquering the world to usher in the return of Christ. Dispensationalism, rapture theology, is more about things will get worse and worse, and prophecy has to be fulfilled in order for Christ to come back and we get raptured and the whole world gets judged kind of vibes, right? But that theology, think Left Behind, is a series for those of you who know what that is, this idea that at any moment some people are going to disappear, that was developed recently, but pastors who preach it will tell you they're just preaching the Bible. This is what the Bible clearly says. They present it as if it's some Orthodox Christian belief. It is not. It is not. Unfortunately, many of these people are currently shaping and running our government and have been for some time, and they're the ones who are giddy, literally giddy, about the fact that we are bombing school children in Iran right now, right? Because they think that this is one step closer to the rapture and end of time and Christ comes back.
You bring that up. There has been, and you, as you pointed out, you and I talked a little bit before the show, that there is one story out, was one about commanding officers in the military using wildly inappropriate Christian messaging to the troops about, rapture and Armageddon and Trump being the Messiah sort of thing.
Yep.
As we started this off, whether that's true or not remains to be seen. That's obviously some allegations there. But there clearly is, when I look at Hegseth and I look at some of the people that are involved here, and I'm a vet myself, there is clearly this, we're on a crusade and we need to call it what it is. This is like the old crusades of yore. This seems to be an element of finally, now we're going to go and kill all these people, make it all Christian, and then here comes Jesus and we get rewarded.
Yeah, so this is definitely, look, it's a real factor. I mean, but honestly, Matt, who would have thought that by nominating and confirming the guy with Crusader iconography tattooed on him, that we would end up with the Department of War and start indiscriminately killing people overseas, whether they're in alleged drug boats in Venezuelan waters, or it's Venezuela itself, or it's Iran, right? We reap what we sow. And frankly, one of my big frustrations as a progressive myself is that I watched that confirmation hearing. Not one senator not one brought up Pete Hegseth's ties and discipling of, or being discipled by Doug Wilson, a legit Looney Tune Christian nationalist who believes that women should not have the right to vote. So unfortunately, this stuff goes under the radar, even by progressive Democrats in office right now. They have no eyes for it, and we're reaping the consequences of that, frankly.
How, if you had to take a guess, how in just a ballpark percentage, how many people within the Trump administration right now do you think are firmly within that camp of Christian extremism?
Oh, I mean, I don't know the actual number of everyone that exists in his world, but I would say, man, I'm really spitballing here, but I would say 70%, probably 60%, maybe probably even more. I mean, I'm thinking about, Russell Vought. I'm thinking about Paula White, who believes in this concept of spiritual warfare. She believes that the White House had a demonic stronghold on it until Trump came in. I mean, I could be here all day explaining the nuances of this, but this is real stuff. This is documented things. So I would say it's a good chunk, but honestly, it doesn't matter if it was 2, because they don't care about being in the majority. They care about the power and control that they can have over government to enact their Christo-fascist regime. And I don't mean to sound like a talk radio, Rush Limbaugh, sky is falling guy, but this is all well documented. You can read the literature on this stuff. I'm not making it up.
Well, no, and let's bring 2 things together. I'm in Minneapolis. We just saw the fascists come into town.
Yeah, you
and
saw it.
Sure, they weren't necessarily waving a Christian extremist flag when they were doing it, but you could tell that was the next piece of their cosplay costume.
Well, I can give you a connection. Here's a connection for you. Okay, so I'm sure you know about City's Church, right? The church that was protested and Don Lemon showed up, right? That church, who had a pastor either on staff or who volunteers, it was unclear to me, is an ICE official, right? Well, that church was connected to the world of Doug Wilson via a man named Joe Rigney, who helped kind of plant that church, who wrote a book called The Sin of Empathy. Is it any, I'm not, look it up, right? So is it any wonder that we have a church who claims to follow a crucified Jesus who taught people to love their enemies and commanded his followers to welcome the immigrant, producing ICE officials who are literally kidnapping immigrants and killing civilians in the streets? No, it's not.
I got a question after the break. I got to get you because something you just brought up there. But I mean, the Minneapolis kind of showed they're not going to be able to pull this stuff off, at least not any kind of large scale take over the country without a massive amount of pushback. And we're already seeing it there. You can see that they're kind of terrified of what could possibly happen with this election. I mean, is this basically because Minneapolis? Do you think that there's part of this is because of Minneapolis? Now we're in Iran. Now he's threatening Cuba. This idea of, well, okay, fine. If we can't do it here, we'll do it over there.
I don't know. I mean, what was it? Caroline Leavitt said that Trump had a feeling. It's like this man is so impulsive. He's so insecure. He obviously needed to go to therapy instead of run for president, right? I mean, that's what we're experiencing. But unfortunately, we have a massive Christian nationalist machine that has gathered their troops and their funding and their networking and painted the picture that this guy is a modern day Cyrus. That's the narrative, who's been chosen by God to save America and the world. So, yeah, I think Trump is completely unhinged and deranged and has no logic. But that's my argument.
Tim Whitaker is kind enough to join us today. We're talking about this. We're going to take a break and coming back because I do actually want to talk about how they are trying to change Christianity, and this is a big, scary. We'll take a break. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. I've been telling you about Snap Construction, the company AM 950 trusts for all roofing and siding needs. Now that spring is here and summer is around the corner, now is a great time to find out why AM 950 trusts Snap Construction. Ryan, the owner, and his team at Snap Construction have been great to work with, and they have enjoyed working with our listeners.
Hi, this is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners at AM 950. What a great group of people and a great radio station. I personally want to thank all the listeners that we've had the opportunity to work with. At Snap Construction, we look forward to working with many more of you when it comes to your roofing, siding, windows, and insulation. Don't just take Chad's word for it. Google Snap Construction, arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the Twin Cities metro. We led this community with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate. Call today, 612-333-SNAP, 612-333-SNAP, or visit us online, snapconstruction.com.
For delicious gourmet popcorn, Popcorn, P-O-P-P-E-D corn.com has you covered. Popped corn offers your favorite flavors ready to go. Cheese made with real cheese, their classic mix. More than 80 great flavors. Enjoy featured flavors like Shamrock Caramel and their tasty fudge and nuts. They sell their popcorn in various bag, gift box, and tin sizes, and they ship across the USA. Visit popcorn.com and enter in discount code MATT to get 10% off your order. That's discount code MATT at popcorn, P-O-P-P-E-D corn.com, and make everyone smile.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Are you tired of hearing how white European men discovered everything? Then 10,000 Things Theater's production of Men on Boats by Jacqueline Backhouse is for you. It features a cast of the people the first expedition to the Grand Canyon in 1869 left out, running February 19th through March 15th at 4 different locations, starting with Open Book in Minneapolis. Contact 10,000things.org. That's 10,000things.org.
Winter reading, losing yourself under a blanket with the fireplace blazing away while submerging yourself in a book and trying to finish just one more page? Winter nights are the perfect time to read, and that's where Next Chapter Booksellers can help. They're independently owned and have all the bestsellers and new releases. Not sure what to get? Their friendly booksellers are great at recommendations. That's your winter reading headquarters. Next Chapter Booksellers off Snelling and Grand. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
When the evening sun.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Tim Whitaker kind enough to join us once again. Tim Whitaker Speaks over on the Substack, and of course, and you actually, Tim, you're having some fans on the Blue Amp stream here. The new evangelicals.com is where you can find you guys there, and obviously a place of, once again, it's not about 180ing from where you were. It's about basically saying, okay, none of this equates, and there's truth, there's reality. That's what we know is actually factually true, and then there's the Trump world, and so it's that separation.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that I'm a more radical Christian today than I was growing up evangelical. You know, like I take the teachings of Jesus seriously. Who would have thought? When Christ said to love your enemies, I believe that he said that. When Christ said to welcome the immigrant, I believe he taught me that, right? That's why, Matt, if you notice, Christian nationalists, especially the pastors, rarely quote the red letters. They rarely quote the teachings of Jesus. It's always Paul or some obscure verse in the Hebrew Bible. It's never the teachings.
They love Leviticus.
Oh, well, they love when it suits them. Talk about welcoming the foreigner, not so much, right? But when it comes to stoning people, absolutely. Yeah.
But who doesn't love abroad? Hey, no, once again, I'm going to say this as I go here, because it's my disclaimer I put out there. You do or don't do whatever it is you do or you don't want to do. We're not here trying to convince you. We're just trying to save, a major religion from basically being driven off a cliff. You wrote something, and I want to read this because I think this is so important, and it kind of touches into what I want to get into next. Civility with Christian nationalism is a fool's errand. I don't say that lightly. It's not my usual style, but Christian nationalists are destroying the world, and their leaders are praying over Donald Trump, asking for God's help in bringing hell on earth. They don't want to find common ground. They don't want to work with people of difference. They want full control, full power, and they want to bomb the world into submission. Couldn't agree with that more, which ties back to something you brought up before we went to the break, which is there does seem to be this idea that they have to change Christianity now. That the empathy, that all these things about, feed the hungry, take care of the sick, clothe the naked, visit the prisoner, all that stuff, that has to be purged from the Bible because that's weakness. And it all has to be, hate gay people, abortion evil, Trump is great, and all Republican policy is good. And they do seem to be trying their hardest to, and by the way, it's interesting to see Pope Leo push back on this as well. This idea that we need to purge anything that shows you should be a compassionate human being out of the Bible, which is most of the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, we're essentially dealing with the moral majority of today, right? I mean, Jerry Falwell in the 80s starts this thing called the moral majority. He gets white evangelicals mobilized around abortion. However, That's not why Jerry Falwell started the Moral Majority. He actually got politicized. People don't know this because of school integration. Jerry Falwell, the founder of Liberty University, did not like school integration. In a sermon he preached about Brown v. Board, he said if the justices knew the will of God, they would have never voted the way that they did. Okay. So honestly, Matt, and I don't mean to sound too extreme here, it comes back to white American supremacy. This is the theology of the early KKK. This is the theology of the Moral Majority. This is the theology of frankly of whiteness. It's a theology of conquer and control and dominion in this purity, the sense of purity, and anything outside is the enemy. We have to protect the tribe at all costs, and they will always reinterpret the Bible to promote and defend those things. Case in point, whenever a Democrat is president, they will never cite Romans 13 as a reason to obey that presidency. Romans 13 is where the Apostle Paul tells his audience to obey the governing authorities because God has put them into place. But now that Trump's in office, oh, hey, guys, we got it. Romans 13 is clear. We got to obey the governing authorities. So it's a very selective interpretation of the Bible that they can move around whenever they want to justify their power and their control.
Well, and it's somewhat insulting. I mean, when Speaker Johnson comes on out and basically starts trying to school the Pope on religion, I mean, it's like
I'm almost embarrassed for him. It's ridiculous.
Well, but he thought he was great, and I think the whole point you're bringing up. And by the way, you're not an extremist. You're, if I can say, normal. This is where people should be. And you and I might not agree completely on religion, but at the same time, we both agree it's supposed to be about love, compassion, caring, and peace, and that sort of thing. It's not supposed to be a weapon as it has been used with the Spanish Inquisition, the Crusades. Yes. Pick your time in history. We are not learning from history, and now we've got people who basically are willing to kill 92 million people in Iran with a smile on their face because they basically have convinced themselves this is what Jesus wanted them to do.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, look, the Mike Johnson piece is rich, but it's actually a great example of the false confidence that these people have. These folks really believe that they have not just an interpretation of the Bible, they have the right Bible in front of them. They think that they're just reading it plainly and that the God of all things, right, just so happens to line up with every single MAGA culture war talking point. Like somehow they hit the cosmic jackpot, right? They just timed it right. And they think that people like the Pope, for example, they think Catholics are heretics. Make no mistake. I was taught that Catholics are not true Christians, okay? Of course, the ironic part is that the Catholic tradition predates the Protestant Reformation by 1,000+ years, right? But that's the kind of confidence and ignorance that you're taught. That's why Mike Johnson said that with his full chest. He really believes it, even though he's a complete buffoon.
Yes, well, and we're seeing the consequences. I mean, pews in churches are more and more empty we are really seeing a massive decrease in the amount of people going to church nowadays.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the data in particular with white evangelicalism is about 15 million people have exited. Now there has been some people who have come over because of the politics side, but yeah, I mean, it's they know that they're on like the minority side, which only makes them fight harder. Because again, the logic is, well, Christ taught us we'd be persecuted for our faith. See, there's an answer for everything, Matt. Everything good or bad is either, oh, God is answering our prayer, Trump's elected, or guys, we're going to be persecuted in the end days. That's why Joe Biden is president. Either way, it benefits them.
I wasn't fired because I was drunk on the job 6 times. I was fired because my boss is mean and is an alien.
I'm not kidding you. I go to Turning Point USA events. I've gone to several of them. I've met Charlie Kirk many times. Rob McCoy, the pastor who's a pastor there at one of the events, said when Joe Biden was still in office that he was worried that they'd be thrown in prison at any day.
Well, and that's once again, no one's more persecuted than the people that are basically trying to persecute other people.
Precisely.
It's Tim Whitaker Speaks. Tim Whitaker Speaks. That's the Substack, thenewevangelicals.com. That's where you'll find the website. Go there, sign up for all the good stuff. Tim, you come back anytime, please.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. Tim Whitaker, kind enough to join us here today. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. Hour 2 coming up next. By the way, bye-bye, Chicago. Bye-bye, Seattle.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Mavericks Real Roast Beef. Mavericks has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Mavericks Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. AM 950 would like to thank everyone who joined and donated during our winter membership drive. Your support shows that Minnesotans still value an independent progressive radio station that delivers facts, not spin. AM 950 is locally owned, based right here in the Twin Cities, and dedicated to uplifting small businesses and diverse communities. At a time when some voices are being pushed aside, AM 950 refuses to be silenced. Please help keep progressive radio on the air. Visit am950radio.com and donate today.
It's Brad Friedman, your friendly investigative blogger, journalist, and host of the Bradcast on AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. The government's February jobs report came in well below expectations. Ed Donahue has a report.
KPMG Chief Economist Diane Swank says the numbers are very weak.
92,000 jobs were shed during the month, and the one pillar of the economy, healthcare and social assistance, actually lost jobs.
The jobs report adds to the economic uncertainty over the war with Iran, which has caused oil prices to surge. Swank pointed out a bad combination in these numbers.
What we saw was the number of people who were employed fell, along with the number of people who are unemployed rose.
The unemployment rate rose slightly. Swank says what she is seeing is very unusual.
I call it a jobless boom. We've seen economic growth without major job gains.
The outlook for the jobs market and the entire economy is clouded by the war with Iran. I'm Ed Donahue.
President Trump appears to be ruling out talks with Iran short of its unconditional surrender. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked about the timeline for military action.
The achievable objectives of Operation Epic Fury we expect to last about 4 to 6 weeks.
Israeli warplanes pounded Tehran and Lebanon's capital Beirut today. Sam Mednick reports from Israel's northern border.
We have been hearing interceptions and drones coming pretty much constantly for the hour and a bit that we've been here with the army. Hezbollah entered this war after a joint attack from the United States and Israel on Iran, saying that it was in retaliation for the killing of Iran's supreme leader. The army has said here that they are going to do what it takes to defend the communities. They're refusing to evacuate Israelis from the villages here. They have put soldiers in front of the villages in order to protect them. They're going to advance further into Lebanon, and this could take weeks or even months.
Oil prices spiked to their highest since 2023. That and the weak jobs report sent stocks tumbling. This is AP News.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from IQ Bar. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at eatiqbar.com/policy/terms of service.
Most protein bars are packed with sugar, carbs, and unpronounceable ingredients. There's a much better option. I'm Will, and I crafted IQ Bar plant protein bars with clean, functional, delicious ingredients to empower doers like you with superior brain and body fuel.
Now you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping when you text radio to 64,000. That's radio to 64,000.
As a social influencer, my days can be busy. 4 a.m., I hit the gym. 4:32, protein smoothie. 5:08, save time and money bundling my home and auto insurance with Progressive. Wait, if I bundle and save time, what would I do then? Just sit here and reflect? Like, why am I qualified to influence anyone? And how those weights are hollow? And half of my followers are bots.
You could save time and money bundling your home and auto when you switch to Progressive. It's one less thing to worry about during your already busy day. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not a
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
In today's uncertain time, Stoves and Fireplaces believes that a fire can add comfort and security to your life. At Woodland, our mission is to connect you to a place for fire that works.
Woodland
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces installed our wood stove years ago, and we still love it. Watching the fire, feeling the heat is a joy we experience every day. And knowing we have a reliable heat source makes us feel snug and safe.
There are many choices in wood, gas, or electric. For diversity in styles at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we display over 180 models, and 35 of these are burning displays. You can experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Whether wood, gas, or electric, find a fire that warms your heart, a fire that adds comfort and security to your life. See the many choices at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, located on the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis, and online at woodlandstoves.com.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces since 1977. For over 48 years, our slogan has been, out of the ordinary products and services. Our mission is to get you a fireplace that works in your life.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for rain throughout today with a high near 56. Tonight, more rain with a low around 32. And Saturday, partly cloudy with a high near 45. Dinosaur World is taking over Children's Theater Company for an immersive tour where you can feel the roar. Get ready to face off against a massive T-Rex and see what it feels like to get sneezed on by a Triceratops at Dinosaur World. Dinosaur World runs through April 5th, and you can find tickets and more info at childrenstheater.org. Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour 2 of the show here on your Friday. Good to have you with us. Matt and Brett here on the Blue Amp Media Network at blueamp.co, on Substack, and of course on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Hi. Good to have you with us here today. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. You remember, Brett, we just had heavy-duty Christian talk here. And once again, you do or don't do whatever it is you do or don't want to do. I'm not here to convert anyone. I'm basically just here to talk about the fact that it's kind of hurts to watch my religion get dragged through the freaking mud by these people. You know what it is. It is a Friday. Do you know what is going to happen? You know what's going to happen today, don't you, Brett? You know what's going to happen.
Dancing.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, that happens because, but I mean, I could do that on any day. But there's a certain thing that happens during the Lenten season.
I have a pretty good idea. It involves fish and you, doesn't it? Fish Fry Friday.
It's a Fish Fry Friday. That's right. I am heading over to IHM today because I'll tell you what, guys. I mean, seriously. Chicago, we broadcast over there. I know New York, Boston, they've got this pretty good as well. You want to find the church with all the elderly ladies cooking in the basement because there is nothing that they can't make that won't taste a million times better than anything you can make at home. They will take a box of mac and cheese, and somehow it's even better than when you do it at home. And we fried it up just perfectly. Oh, I love when I go to the churches where it's the tacos. And God bless them, all the heavy Hispanic population in there that's in the kitchen cooking. You know you're about to get something really freaking good. Oh, Fish Fry Fridays are a magnificent thing. And so I am, as soon as I'm out of here, I mean, heck, I don't know. Am I really going to do the whole show? Fine. I'll stick around for the full hour. But I guarantee you by about 5:20 this evening, face first into a pile of fish. Yes. Although, I mean, it's yeah, I gotta be careful with the back. No diving. I'll wade in to the fish pool. Oh God, I love it when they do have all the good sides too, because they'll do the green beans, and yes, they're canned green beans, but they put the almonds in there. I'm like, oh come on,
they make those taste pretty decent, as you said. Church ladies make everything taste better.
Gosh. And of course, it's always fun. I do love sitting and talking with the people in there because you go to a fish fry and everyone's happy. Everyone's having a good time. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend, no matter what you get yourself up into. And once again, I'm not trying to use fish fries to convert anybody, but you'll go have them and you'll say, Jesus. Yeah, there you go. I say that as a good Christian. All right. Indeed. I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a quick second here because I did want to get into a little bit. I spent the first hour, of course, we had Tim on, and then we got the latest report on Trump and the Epstein files, and of course the economy. I did want to mention one or two other things here about Trump and the military. First of all, the tragic news that's coming on out, it is now believed, indeed, the U.S. military were the ones that were responsible for the strike on the school in Minneapolis that killed 150 kids in Iran. That was a U.S. missile, and they missed, and they hit a school. Of course, the Trump administration and the Israeli forces are both denying that it was them, but it clearly was one of them. And it's looking more and more like that the United States of America did indeed blow up a school full of young girls and killed quite a few of them. And I guarantee you, and I'm just piggybacking off what Tim says, there are going to be some MAGA Christian churches who are going to be talking about how that is what Jesus wanted us to do anyway. That's the crazy part. Trump has said that only Iran's unconditional surrender will bring an end to the offensive launched 7 days ago, and the U.S. and Israel carried out some of the heaviest bombardments so far in the conflict. They are not going to blubber to you. You do understand that. I mean, this idea I keep hearing in a country of 92 million people, that the White House keeps saying, we took out the 50 biggest leaders in the country. They weren't the only leaders in the country. Do you understand that? That you're going to have to kill off a substantial amount of that population for them to basically finally say mercy. And where that gives a thrill to some people on the right, it shouldn't be given a thrill to a lot of people, because you're going to require troops on the ground. It's going to require a lot of Americans to sacrifice their lives. I mean, God, these are huge cities. You're going to have to go block by block. We don't have, I know that everyone likes to say, oh, we got tons of ammunition and all stuff. You don't. You don't have enough ammunition. You don't have enough missiles. You don't have enough all this stuff to do it. And sure, you can say to yourself, we're going to raise the tax rate up to 75% on the middle and lower class because God forbid you actually have a millionaire or a billionaire pay for any of your freaking plans. But, yeah. But Trump, it's this fantasy. It's this fantasy that their enemies are blubbering and begging us for forgiveness. That is who these people are. And Venezuela did not do that. Venezuela basically realized, a lot of people will die if we basically stand up to this guy. So basically, or try to stand up to him. So they basically took the appeasement method with him. That was never going to happen. I mean, if you don't understand the differences between Venezuela and Iran, I can't help you. And you see, is what Trump is basically kind of putting out there is this idea that, because yesterday we talked about how Iran is basically calling his bluff. Okay, invade. Good luck. It'll take 20 years and it'll cost you 50,000 troops, but good luck. And then you're going to have to occupy it. So good luck. You just don't have any freaking reality of what this is. And so this is kind of Trump sort of saying, this could all go away real quick. If you just say, we surrender, we'll let you manage everything. You have to put Benjamin Netanyahu on all your money. And then we're all done. And nobody here can be Muslim anymore. They're not going to go for that. He doesn't understand what he's doing. He doesn't understand what he's doing. He doesn't understand what he is doing. There will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender, Trump wrote in his Truth Social post. Yeah. They keep talking about how they're going to attack more and more and more. The war has killed at least 1,230 people in Iran, about a dozen in Israel, according to officials in the countries. 6 U.S. troops have been killed. The Lebanese health ministry said the death toll in the country now stands at 217. And by the way, I don't think it's too much of a coincidence there that Israel is in Lebanon right now, clearing out beachfront property in South Beirut. I do not think that's a coincidence. Then there was the mysterious one about this one, the Cuba thing. Earlier, Trump told CNN in a phone interview that Cuba is going to fall pretty soon. This follows the president's comment at the White House on Thursday when he claimed Cuba wants to make a deal so badly. Cuba is struggling with dwindling oil reserves after the U.S. attacked Venezuela in January and depleted country's petroleum shipments. Later that month, Trump threatened to impose tariffs on any country selling or supplying Cuba with oil. Now they're dealing with blackouts. So, yeah, I guess he's happy that people are dying and suffering. Dana Bash, Trump said he would, once again, and it doesn't surprise me. Trump wants the Trump Tower in Havana. That's what he wants. And Trump said he would put Secretary of State Marco Rubio in charge of the operation, whose parents fled Cuba and the U.S. during the Batista regime. We got plenty of time, but Cuba's ready after 50 years, the president added. Yeah, you're just the latest person that's basically said that. And by the way, it's not been 50, it's been 60. But still, okay, yeah, sure. 952-946-6205. One or two other things here I want to get into. First of all, I'm going to put the story out there. It's a little bit of a local story, but I don't have any tolerance for this. North Branch, Minnesota, just north of the Twin Cities. They're searching for a driver who struck a child and then drove off. The incident happened at 3:20 in the afternoon in February in North Branch. Police say the driver of the black Buick LaCrosse hit the child, then left the scene of the crash. The child's expected to make a full recovery. That's good news. At this point, law enforcement does not have the description of the driver, but believe there is damage to the right side of the vehicle and possibly the passenger side mirror. Anybody with information about that should call the North Branch Police Department. I'm going to put out that story just so you can see the vehicle. If anybody knows who did that, turn their cabooses in. That is just, yeah, I have zero patience for this. And yeah, if you do, when you see this, make sure you make that call if you can. All right. One last thing here before we get in the break. It is daylight savings time this weekend. Now, yes, the spring version is a little harder than the fall version. Nobody complains about daylight savings time in the fall when you get an extra hour of sleep. But everybody starts bellyaching about why do we keep blah. I don't really have a lot of patience for it because it's lazy populism. I think anti-daylight savings time is just lazy populism. It's just a cheap thing. It's like, and why do I get to lose an hour of sleep? Because you save money. Now, I know I'm about to get people saying, it doesn't save money anymore, Matt. Actually, I've been doing this now for a few years. I'm going to do it again right now because at one point, I actually had a Democrat in my studio who was like, oh, yeah, we got to get rid of daylight savings time. It makes us, it's just pointless at this point. And so I asked the question. I mean, I'm used to kooks basically saying weird things, but when a Democrat I know said this, I actually took some time and dove deep into daylight savings time to basically try to figure out whether or not there was some legitimacy to the fact that it should be abandoned. Daylight savings time in the United States, the process of taking an hour of sunlight early in the morning during the spring, summer, and fall, and then moving it to the evening hours to cut back on energy consumption began in 1918 as a tactic to conserve energy during the wartime. The idea behind it makes a lot of sense. If people, companies, and municipalities did not have to turn on lights until an hour later in the evening by taking an hour of daylight from the morning when most of them are still in bed, springing the clocks ahead 1 hour in spring, that 1 hour of less fuel that needs to be spent. Then in mid-autumn, when the tilt of the earth starts working against any energy conservation, the people fall back, get the extra hour of sleep, they move on with their lives. A lot of countries started daylight savings time during wartime, and then the concept grew over time. Most of the United States partakes in the process still today. But now you get this contrarian point of view that daylight savings time kills so many people. I'll get to that. And really doesn't save us any money. So why are people losing 1 hour sleep in spring? I mean, that is where we're at. So I did a deep dive into this. I went and read research reports. I went and found the studies I could find. I actually did this like I was back in college, and I put this out. And this is why I think I keep reading it, because the amount of time I spent reading up on daylight savings time, I'm not going to let it go. Does daylight savings time actually save on energy use? Yes, it does. And while it saves nowhere near as much as it did when it originally started, it still saves a lot of energy. Most of the studies you find on daylight savings time energy use are focused on only domestic energy use, only the energy you use in your residence, okay? A lot of people have honed in specifically on one study, which is quoted a lot, and this study is quoted a lot, that looked at domestic use in Indiana alone. Most domestic-only studies do indeed show daylight savings time is no longer saving on energy consumption when it comes to U.S. citizens in their homes. Some studies even show daylight savings time uses more energy, but those studies are generally confined to a region or state where other factors affect consumptions, not circumstances that can be applied across the country. Domestically, energy used today, in most cases, is the same for both daylight savings time and standard time, and one or two studies now show regional domestic energy use is actually higher under daylight savings time. So these are the ones that kind of go after daylight savings time. This shouldn't be too much of a surprise, though. When daylight savings time began, most households only had a few electrical appliances, lights and iron, possibly one or two other appliances. Compare that to a modern house with electrical heating, cooling, fans, computers, charging cords, televisions, the smart devices everyone's got. The main reason domestic energy use itself is not curbed by daylight savings time is that the modern household never really shuts down, so electric use never really, wavers. It's pretty constant. But here's the problem with those studies. They only focus on the domestic use, and many of them also, as I mentioned earlier, look at a specific region or slant of domestic energy consumption. Domestic energy use is only one part of the energy consumption. So it's somewhat dishonest to present domestic energy use as overall energy use. Part of the reason there are very few studies that factor in the four major uses of electrical consumption, domestic, commercial, military, and municipal, is because this is a massive study to undertake. Management of the time zones in the United States falls under the Department of Transportation. I did not know that when I started this, and I found that out. It is under the Department of Transportation. The United States actually still saves about 1% of their total energy consumption when observing daylight savings time. A lot of those savings come from commercial buildings shutting down before it gets dark, municipalities and military bases not having to turn on lights for community activities until later. But there is once again, this was, when we were talking about COVID and stuff like this, that was a part there, but most people are back to work now. So no, it still does when you factor in the four major uses of energy use: domestic, municipal, military, and commercial use. A Department of Energy study in 2008 looked into the cost savings of expanding daylight savings time. Their studies showed that a 4-week extension of daylight savings time would end up saving enough energy to power 100,000 households per year just in those 4 weeks. So it does save energy. It does still, even with domestic use, far higher than it was in the past. If someone says no, it doesn't, almost all the time they are quoting that one study from Indiana on domestic use. I still get people coming after me about this report I wrote years later, trying to use that Indiana study to contradict this. But no, that's just the domestic use in Indiana, and that was it. How about the other one? Does daylight savings time cost lives? Yeah, kind of. It's not so cut and dry on that. There definitely is a mysterious rise in heart attacks, not of all equal death, in the first week of daylight savings time. Studies in both the U.S. and Europe point to a disruption of sleep patterns and biological rhythms as likely culprits, but medical experts really can't say for sure why this does happen, but it does. The rise in heart attacks is about 5% for the first week of daylight savings time, and that means definitively some people are dying. Also, there are studies that point to increases in fatal traffic accidents in the first weeks of daylight savings time, some are around 6%. This is mostly chalked up to sleepy drivers. But is the problem daylight savings time, or is that a driver who refuses to go to bed a little earlier to combat the known shift in time? On the other side of the traffic death argument, though, is a Rand Corporation study that showed that increasing the sunlight during the evening hours in the summer months decreased traffic accidents involving vehicles by 6 to 10%, and traffic accidents involving vehicles and pedestrians by 8 to 11%, undoubtedly saving countless lives over all the years. Not dismissing the increase in heart attacks and traffic accidents in the first week of daylight savings time, but cutting traffic accidents for the entire run of daylight savings time probably has saved far more lives than are lost in the first week of daylight savings time. So, yes, there are people that die because of daylight savings time, but daylight savings time actually has decreased the amount of deaths because of the fewer accidents in the evening. So here's where the real problem comes in. There is no consensus on what we do, because there's two paths here, and both of them have some problems. And there are a lot of people on both sides of these arguments. Do you stay with daylight savings time year round, or do you go back to traditional daylight time year round. Now, if you do that, if you go back to, no matter what, you're going to basically give a massive payout to the fossil fuel industry. That they're going to make a mint off of this. That's why Donald Trump was for this, was because the oil and gas industry wanted him to do this, because they will, spend more money. There is a question of mental health, though, that we have to put forward here with the changing either way. This is one of the best arguments to keep the things where we are. I live in Minneapolis. So if we were to stay on daylight savings time year round, the sun would not even rise. It would not even rise until 8:50 in the morning in December. Okay. That's pretty late in the morning. Minneapolis is in the middle of the central time zone. For a city on the western side of a time zone like in Indianapolis, the sun would rise on January 1st at 9:05 a.m. I can't say for sure what the impact of such a late sunrise would mean for people who suffer from seasonal affective disorder, but undoubtedly you'll have more depression, more suicides with the darker mornings. But you say, fine, then let's go back to standard time year round. Once again, you're going to get the increase in traffic accidents in the evening, but let's just look at the quality of sleep. The sunrise in late June in Minneapolis, if we kept standard time, would be 4:24 a.m. The sun's over the horizon at 4:24. If you're on the eastern side of a time zone like Portland, Maine, the sunrise will be at 3:57 a.m. The sun is over the horizon line at 3:57 a.m. You'd have to spend money to get heavy-duty drapes and blinds to keep the rooms dark. Many people would be losing sleep. It would be difficult. All right. So, do we still save money? Yes. Do some people die? Yes, but we actually probably save more lives than we lose lives with daylight savings time. And there is no consensus on what we do, and both going back to standard time or staying on daylight savings time have their both drawdowns. So just do me a favor. Suck it up. Get one less hour of sleep. You'll be amazed at how bright it is in the evening until 7 o'clock on Sunday night. And then just remember, you get it back in October when you can sleep in that extra hour. Bon appetit. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. I will post the story again on the timeline, so look for it on social media. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
When I first knew this place, it was a different.
Are you planning a gathering for your family, friends, or work? Then reserve space at the Park Tavern. The Park Tavern offers private and semi-private spaces, and they can accommodate any size party, large or small. They have bowling, food, and beverage packages for any budget. And remember, there are no room fees and no minimum spending requirements. And for more information or to schedule an event, call 952-929-6810 or go to parktavern.net. Make your next get-together the best get-together with help from the Park Tavern.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. The end of winter is finally on the horizon, and you're going to start thinking about all that nasty crud that's built up in your home over these last few months. Call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res to help get you an early start on the spring cleanup. Zero Res removes winter's buildup and lingering odors, giving your home a fresh, spring-ready feel. This month, get Zero Resified from Minnesota's #1 carpet cleaner. Buy one room, get another free. Buy another room of carpet cleaning, get another room of carpet done for free. Get the picture? Also this month, get a free size upgrade on every whole home air duct cleaning package. Don't you love when you buy your favorite beverage and get a free size upgrade? That's what Zero Res is doing this month with their whole home air duct cleaning package. Start spring cleaning with a free upgrade and pay less for more fresh. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. I've been telling you about Snap Construction, the company AM 950 trusts for all roofing and siding needs. Now that spring is here and summer is around the corner, now is a great time to find out why AM 950 trusts Snap Construction. Ryan, the owner, and his team at Snap Construction have been great to work with, and they have enjoyed working with our listeners.
Hi, this is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners at AM 950.
great group of people and a great radio station. I personally want to thank all the listeners that we've had the opportunity to work with. At Snap Construction, we look forward to working with many more of you when it comes to your roofing, siding, windows, and insulation. Don't just take Chad's word for it. Google Snap Construction, arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the Twin Cities metro. We led this community with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate. Call today, 612-333-SNAP, 612-333-SNAP, or visit us online, snapconstruction.com.
Families, get ready for Dinosaur World Live, a thrilling interactive show at Children's Theater Company March 3rd through April 5th. This hit show is the perfect blend of science, storytelling, and spectacular live theater. These remarkably lifelike dinosaurs move, they roar, and yes, the mighty T-Rex towers before your eyes. This is edge-of-your-seat excitement, followed by the chance to meet a dinosaur up close. Dinosaur World Live opens March 3rd. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
Get your hands on his cash.
It is the Matt McNeil Show.
While he was scheming, I was dreaming.
952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. Hey, how about a little bit of an update on ICE activity here in town? More just federal government incompetency. How about we'll start with that? Following contempt hearing at the federal courthouse in St. Paul, U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen was instead in front of a federal judge in Minneapolis on Thursday after the federal government repeatedly failed to return the belongings to more than 24 ICE detainees. Rosen was again facing questions related to the missing property for people who are held in ICE custody. Judge John Thunheim is expected to produce a court order that will impose a deadline to the Department of Homeland Security to either return these people's items or provide monetary compensation. If that deadline is missed, Thunheim said there will likely be daily civil fines. Rosen argued that coercive penalties are not appropriate and will not rectify a problem under deadlines. Dude, okay. I've seen enough Law and Order episodes. You have a evidence room. You take the stuff off of them and you put it over in a bag with their name on it. And then when they leave, you give it back to them. I have actually talked to a friend of mine in one of the northern suburbs, and he does some work with the police department up there. And he said the biggest problem they've had is that now he's not a direct police officer. He kind of does community service stuff. He said during the ICE stuff, they'd come down the street and there's just a car there and it's running and the doors are open and it's just there and there's nobody around. And they'd come across that all the freaking time. And so, they get it towed, but it's like, there was zero regard for personal property on any of these people that they arrested, including people who were not here illegally. Well, I'm not going to say illegal, undocumented. There are people that are here, and frankly, if they want to do the jobs they want to do, they're here legally in my mind. But still, God. So Rosen is saying, it's not appropriate to basically punish them for losing all these people things. And let's make sure we understand. We've all seen the Border Patrol and ICE agents. They were jamming this stuff in their pockets. This is like picking over bodies on a battlefield. That's what they were doing. Rosen said ICE had to make difficult decisions as it attempted to meet an overwhelming number of release orders. Whose problem is that, you dumbasses? Sorry. Hey, guy, we screwed up a lot and we had to unrelease these people. You understand how much work we had? For those taken to Texas, he said it became a matter of releasing people on time with or without property. And that was something that we've heard about, not only the Whipple building here in Minneapolis, but these Gestapos they got down in Texas, where basically people are just released without their wallet, without their phone, in some cases without shoes, and they're just dumped outside. And, speaking of, angels, there are people out there and at these facilities who are sitting waiting for that scenario to try to help people who have no phone, no way of contacting anyone, try to get home. And God bless them. But that's not ICE. That's not the federal government who wrongly arrested these people Rosen said as the surge winds down, he does not anticipate the problems to persist, given there are now enough beds in Minnesota detention facilities to handle detainees. Nobody has been willfully disobedient. There have been mistakes that have been made. They're not being disobedient. They've just been morons. I guess is that what you're saying? That's a far, far cry from contempt of court. Well, Rosen, if they've told you you need to return their stuff and you're like, I have no idea it is. Some ICE agent who's got a house in Tennessee, he's now got a bunch of gear. Hey, I took that off a guy in Minneapolis, man. That's war bounty. That's war treasure. Well, most of the cases have been resolved. Attorneys for 5 petitioners on Thursday pointed out that it took the threats of contempt to get federal government to finally respond to their clients' problems. Josh Rissman said his client, going by Ricky, was first detained on January 5th despite having a work permit from DHS. He spent more than a month in El Paso. Once he was released on February 18th, Rissman said that his client was missing his work permit, Social Security card, about $100 in cash. Oh, we already know what those ICE agents did with that. He said that Ricky, who is now employed as a roofer and was detained on his way home from work, also lost a nail gun in ICE custody. Guarantee is someone, hey, look at this. Look what I got here. I took this off of some guy in Minneapolis. Yeah, I got this I'm going to put it up on the wall. It's like they made a plan to unconstitutionally arrest a lot of people, but they didn't make a plan to deal with their constitutional rights. Rissman said that ICE told him the Social Security card had been located. However, the cash, his nail gun, and the work permit are gone. Morons. Just morons. Rosen said that the federal government is disputing that Ricky had $100 and a nail gun on him at the time of his detainment. He said DHS will still reimburse him based on Ricky's account. He said that DHS can replace the work permit if Ricky is still eligible. He said he didn't know if that was a question. Another case of scrutiny. Thursday's hearing, Rosen conceded that a Guatemalan man and his forms of identification are lost. And he said that ICE cannot locate the Guatemalan's consular ID, his Guatemalan driver's license, or his Minnesota driver's license. Rosen said efforts to locate the documents have proved futile, offering compensation. Dude, how bad are you guys at this job? You have a full, like an envelope bag, you know, like a Ziploc bag. You put the stuff in there, you write his name on there. You freaking morons. And they gave these people guns and gas canisters and tasers and rocket launchers and released them on the city. The Guatemalan documentation will be very difficult to replace, the man's attorney explained, stating the driver's license can only be obtained in Guatemala itself, and the consular ID can only be obtained at the proper office in Chicago. I want to remind people as well of how horrible these people have been, and there's probably going to be coming to a town near you if they're not already there. On the evening of late January, Emily was driving through her Minneapolis neighborhood doing something that she had become part of a routine in recent months, patrolling for ICE. Emily, who the media is only identifying by her first name because she fears retribution from the federal government, says she was followed by an ICE vehicle at a safe distance, or she was following the ICE vehicle at a safe distance into a parking lot. And then somebody leaned out of the passenger side of the SUV, took a picture of me and my car, she said. Emily said she decided to leave at that point, but the SUV made a sudden U-turn and barreled towards her, braking next to her driver's side window. A female agent wearing a gator-style mask, because cowards, rolled down the window, leaned out, and addressed Emily by name. She yelled, "Emily, Emily, we're going to take you home." Then she looked at her phone and she recited my home address, she said. Emily says she didn't acknowledge the agents and drove away, but was so shaken that she didn't drive home, afraid the agents might follow her there. Instead, they went on a nearby restaurant and waited for hours. I want to make sure we understand what ICE agents were doing, because this is not the only story of this. There's another woman that put it out there. ICE asked to see her ID, and they said, "We now know where you live. We now know where you live." And she said, "Let that sink in." They went on a mission of public intimidation, war against the people of Minneapolis. Going back to Emily, I don't know how they pulled my information up, if they had something on me already, or if they pulled my registration. Their message was not subtle, right? They were in fact saying, "We see you, we get you whenever we want." And it did scare them. These are, yeah. Emily's experience mirrors that of many other people across the country to understand how federal agents are using various Department of Homeland Security surveillance tools at the time. They collected dozens of accounts through interviews and court documents describing confrontations with federal immigration officers in recent months. Activists and journalists spoke of tactics they felt were intimidation. Agents photographing their faces or license plates, calling them by name, or leading them to their homes. Immigration lawyers told NPR their clients had been subject to facial recognition technology. One ICE agent testifying under oath spoke of an app that showed a likely home address of people targeted for deportation. These are just the most incompetent boobs. These were, let's just make sure, under Kristi Noem, under Bavino, under Corey Lewandowski. Sorry. Let's make sure we understand who these people are. These were the 20-time losers. The guys that, daylight savings came 3 days ago and I still can't get up an hour earlier than I used to. These are the guys that, so just because I have a little meth in my system, does that mean I can't operate a school bus? The guys who are sitting there saying, I know that the thing told me not to dig there with the backhoe, but I dug there and I hit a gas line. These are the people that can't keep a job. And those are the people that went skipping all day long into the ICE recruitment agencies. And they're petty, small, incompetent jackasses who, frankly, were a scourge. Were the idiots SS. I mean, that's what they were. The morons Gestapo. And not only did they go out and harass people and arrest people and shoot people and abuse people, then they stole stuff from people. They went out there and outright stole things. Hey, look at that nail gun. I got myself a new souvenir. Guarantee you, that's in some backward Hicks garage right now, and he looks at it every time and smiles, saying, I remember when I pulled that off a guy. The term is stole. You stole that from somebody. Yeah. But yeah, these guys need to get masks. Do not fund DHS until the masks come off, because let's face it, these little coward, impotent Gestapo wannabes, they'll all flee like rats from the sinking ship if all of a sudden they have to start showing their faces. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Take a break. Come on back. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
Hey, Chanhassen in Eden Prairie. It's Alex with Buzz Cut Mowing. Why wake up early, freeze, and shovel snow when I can handle it for you? I provide fast, reliable snow removal so your driveway and sidewalks stay clear, safe, and stress-free all winter long. Relax, enjoy your morning coffee, and let me do the heavy lifting. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com today and make this winter easier, warmer, and worry-free with Buzz Cut Mowing, because nobody likes shoveling snow.
What if I told you that toxic pesticides from crop seeds and lawns have spread all over Minnesota's lands and water, devastating wildlife and posing risks to our health? Well, it's true. But a coalition of Minnesota farmers, community members, anglers, and more are taking action to protect our state from neurotoxic pesticides. To learn more and get involved, visit cleanerseed.org. That's cleanerseed.org. And tune to Food Freedom Radio.
At Schroman Law, we provide more than just legal documents. We walk alongside our clients to ensure their wishes and legacies are being honored with every choice. And we do this while recognizing that this process can be emotional and weighty. Our team includes attorneys, as well as a grief coach and a published writer ready to assist with legacy letters and extra wishes to go alongside your healthcare directive. Contact us today to learn more at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota, providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community. and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
Next Chapter Booksellers is the perfect destination for indoor winter activities. Cozy up with a book. They have all the bestsellers and new releases. Plus, their booksellers are great at making recommendations. Beyond books, enjoy mind-bending puzzles and family fun board games for those snowy days. And don't miss Next Chapter's in-store events, book clubs, author signings, and children's story time. So stay busy this winter with Next Chapter Booksellers off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for rain throughout tonight with a low around 32, Saturday partly cloudy with a high near 45, and Sunday sunny with a high near 61. You can discover macarons like you've never tasted before at Nicolette's Macarons in Plymouth. Pick up a box of elegant French macarons today, conveniently located off Highway 169. They're perfect for unique gifts, corporate events, or just for yourself. Stop in and order at nicolettesmacarons.com. That's nicolettesmacarons.com.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
It is the Matt McNeil Show on Blue Amp Media, blueamp.co on Substack, and of course, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the Matt McNeil Show. Hey, yeah. By the way, follow me on the socials, on the Substack. It's Matt McNeil Show on Substack, Matt McNeil Show on Blue Sky. Trust me, you'll like it. That was creepy.
You did say you had those back drugs earlier.
Taking
effect now.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've got access to the Department of Homeland Security's F-plane. Who wants to go for a ride? God, can we please keep that like at the Smithsonian? We should have a tour. Oh, God. In case you missed it, Corey Lewandowski has also been released from the Department of Homeland Security. Okay, come on, let me finish that statement. Okay, sickos. We are in Minneapolis, St. Paul, which, by the way, has one of the highest rates of subscribership to OnlyFans. But hey, you know, whatever floats your boat, man. That was a story out today. We are a city of freaks, man. Thanks, Prince. We're all over it. That music it's the charm. But apparently, we do. I could care less. I mean, if it's legal, everyone's consenting. It floats your boat. Knock yourself out. It's not my place to judge.
Well, you've alluded to your own OnlyFans page.
Yes.
So how much of a percentage is your fan taking up of that number?
I have made an OnlyFans page. If you can find it, good luck. It's not, hey, it's clean. There aren't photos.
It's a clean OnlyFans page. I can't be doing too well.
That would explain some things. There is, if you can find it. No one's been able to find it yet, but it's there. Every once in a while I go see, I can see what's there, along with all my other subscriptions. Never mind. In the most ironically named business in the history of mankind, the Mayo Clinic reported profits over this last year, driven by strong patient demand for healthcare services, big investment returns, and more philanthropic giving to the Rochester-based health system. Financial statements show the not-for-profit healthcare company collected $21 billion in revenue for medical care grants and investments, while paying out about $20 billion in expenses. That left $1.47 billion in earnings from current activities, the biggest one-year sum ever at the clinic. Once again, non-profit. Mayo's financial stability comes as it closes half a dozen clinics in Minnesota last year, stands in contrast with other health systems in the state. Minnesota's largest safety net hospital, Minneapolis, is clamoring for financial help, and medical centers are more broadly bracing for substantial cuts in the Medicaid next year. Okay, folks, you're bearing the lead. They made this massive amount of profit, and let's just call it what it is, $1.747 billion in profit, because they shut down clinics. That's, well, at least in part, they didn't have those expenses. And also, can I make a point here? Because the Mayo Clinic has been very much, seems to be working against the unions because they don't want, you got 1.47 billion. You guys got more than, and you're supposed to be nonprofit. You got more than enough money to pay unions, the nurses union and the other unions more money. But I want to go back to something that happened in 2023, because this was something that during that very successful Democratic year here in Minnesota, where they passed all these bills and a lot of great things got passed. One of the bills that was on the table was a nurse staffing bill that would have required mandates on the amount of staffing levels. And for some reason, the Democrats, well, I know why, because they caved. The Democrats carved out an exception for the Mayo Clinic, saying they didn't have to follow the staffing laws, which basically, derailed the entire thing. And it actually is a good point. We should have better staffing laws. And the whole point of the Mayo Clinic was saying is, we're a nonprofit. This is going to, this could kill our budgets. No. They have more than enough money to get those increased staffing. I have a feeling this is a lot more about executives and how many new jet skis and vacation properties they get with their bonus for being a nonprofit. So they're closing down clinics. They're lobbying big time to stop nurse staffing levels from being where they should be. And they've been somewhat anti-union. Well, you have the money, man. You have the money. I don't want to end like that. I want to end on something that's kind of positive. And although loss is a horrible thing, I do want to mention the memorial that's trying to be planned for one of the military dead from Trump's Iran war. The husband of the Minnesota soldier killed last weekend in Kuwait says he hopes to honor her with a memorial greenhouse. Sergeant First Class Nicole Amore, 39, died Sunday during an attack by an unmanned aircraft system in Kuwait, said the U.S. Department of Defense. As of Thursday, there have been 6 confirmed American casualties since the U.S. and Israel began their joint attack in Iran. Nicole Amore was serving in the U.S. Army's Sustainment Command out of Des Moines, Iowa, and had served in the military for more than a quarter century. She was set to return home to White Bear Lake, Minnesota on Tuesday. She was set to return home on Tuesday. She was killed on Sunday. Joey Amore put out the statement. The couple has 2 children, a high school senior and a 4th grader. She was almost home, said Joey Amore on Tuesday. You don't go to Kuwait thinking something's going to happen, and for her to be one of the first, it does hurt. In a social media post on Wednesday, Joey honored his wife as an amazing soldier, but more than that, she was an amazing wife, mother, and friend. He also said she loved gardening, though which she found peace and joy. And it sounds like, once again, we talked about her story that, and this I believe was out of the Independent, that she liked to garden with her son and they would make fresh salsas together. And that is, as the White House and Hegseth keep saying, stop talking about these war victims. We should be talking about these people. They're human beings. And their sacrifice should not be just swept aside because it's embarrassing for the Trump administration. One of the things I would love to do is honor her, is build a greenhouse, a place that would be made incredible, happy, and peace, a space where love and growing things can continue to live on, wrote Joey Amore. A GoFundMe account has been set up for the greenhouse, has raised more than $35,000 of late Thursday. I like you. I love you. I am in love with you. You're my best friend, and now you'll be missed dearly, wrote Joey. Earlier this week, White Bear Lake Mayor ordered flags flown at half-staff in the city in Nicole Amore's honor. Of course, once again, Donald Trump, who lowered the flags for Charlie Kirk, has decided to not yet lower the flags for the 6 service members who died. So I'm going to put this story out there. If you can make a donation, please do. And she, once again, was one of 6 people that passed away. Know their stories. Know who these people are. Because this is the human loss. And if we get to a point where the Trump administration wants us to where we don't equate the humanity of these individuals, just they're nothing more than a pencil or a thumbtack or a paperclip, then shame on us. These are human beings. and they should be remembered. Help make a donation. Let's build this greenhouse, shall we? I think that's a good idea. Let's take a break. Come on back. We'll dance into the weekend when we do return. It is the Matt McNeil Show here on your Friday. With the excitement of March Madness coming, popcorn, that's POPPED corn.com, needs to be in your starting lineup. Enjoy your favorite flavor of popcorn, gourmet popcorn, like cheese made with real cheese, the classic mix, or the featured flavor of shamrock caramel. And many college teams are featured on Popped Corn's tins. You can ship your team tin across the USA. Find your team at popcorn.com and enter in the discount code MATT to get 10% off your order. That's discount code MATT at popcorn, POPPED corn.com.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, our job is to help you find a place for fire. Our displays include over 180 models in diverse styles, and we have over 35 burning displays. Come and experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Some say there are only two seasons in Minnesota: road construction and winter. Hi, this is Laura, and I agree there are two seasons in Minnesota: summer and fireplace season. I bought my wood stove for Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces in 2005, and every season after summer comes the time when we fire up the wood stove, get out our favorite music, and discover the warmth of fire. Our dog Pumpkin remembers the fire too. He stations himself right there, legs up in the air, just enjoying the warmth of the fire. With the wood stove, we are able to keep the main area of the house toasty warm, while the thermostat is set at an energy-efficient 64 degrees. Discover your fireplace season. Visit Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces today.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Cafe Latte offers made-from-scratch soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts. So come check out their pizza and wine bar, or get a treat from the bakery made fresh daily. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout, along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
Families, get ready for Dinosaur World Live, a thrilling interactive show at Children's Theater Company March 3rd through April 5th. This hit show is the perfect blend of science, storytelling, and spectacular live theater. These remarkably lifelike dinosaurs move, they roar, and yes, the mighty T-Rex towers before your eyes. This is edge-of-your-seat excitement, followed by the chance to meet a dinosaur up close. Dinosaur World Live opens March 3rd. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
Oh, nice, man. James Taylor, nice. I love James Taylor, man.
Whenever I see your smiling face, I have to smile myself because I love you.
Okay. I mean, I could dance to this, but I got some other dancing to do. Hey, thanks for being with us this week. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed having you here. Make sure you're back with us here on Monday. We'll have a brand new show for that. Taking us out today, if we're ready for it, let's hit the 9 Inch Nails. It's an eclectic playlist here at this radio station. Have a fantastic weekend. We are back on a Monday. Until then, see ya.
The way it makes me feel, infection. It's almost like a tongue on the back of my neck. I never had a choice, connection. I never had a chance to catch my breath. It's eating up the space between us. It's eating up all remaining down. It's filling up the hole inside you. It's trying to find a way to let itself out. Give me something to believe in. All these hands have got a hold on me. Give me something to believe in. As alive as you need me to be.
It's no secret that medical care costs are soaring, with nursing home and skilled nursing care costs being some of the highest. You don't have to deplete your savings in order to receive long-term care. At Schroman Law, we work with